want to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. What exactly does Jesus Christ mean when he says we should store up treasures in heaven? Well, that is a question based on what we know as the Sermon on the Mount. And it's talking about how oftentimes we spend an inordinate amount of energy and time on the things of earth that are temporal, that will one day be burned. And then there's this comparison to the creative order that God adorns so beautifully that we should store up, quote, treasures in heaven. I want to allude to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, beginning in verse 11, where it talks about the fact that as a believer in Jesus Christ, that as a believer, quote, post-conversion, that my deeds, my works, my life can be categorized as either wood, hay, stubble, or silver, gold, and precious jewels. And there's coming a day, we often call it the judgment seat of Christ, where my life post salvation will be, I hate to use the word judged, even though that's probably a proper word, but will actually just be revealed for what it is and tried by fire. Meaning that which was earthly and temporal and not honoring to the Lord be burned up. That which was honoring to the Lord will be preserved. And it speaks of 5 different times in the New Testament of these rewards, that we have a crown of righteousness, a crown of life, an everlasting crown, and kind of taking those ideas and merging them together. When Jesus is challenging us in the Sermon on the Mount to store up treasures in heaven, he's basically telling us that when we have a decision to make and when we're operating this thing called life, really we need to ask ourselves, is this something that's just temporarily satisfying, that's just going to be earthbound and burned up one day? Or is this something that honors the Lord, glorifies him, that honestly one day will be rewarded and potentially, according to Scripture, will be remaining forever as far as the recognition? Now, one last thought before I close the question. Oftentimes when we talk about eternal rewards and crowns, there's this tendency to become a, quote, crown collector. And I want to just allude to Revelation chapter 4, where it says one day around the throne of God, we cast our crowns before him. The whole point of storing up treasures in heaven is not so that we can walk around one day and say, hey, look at me, look how good I was for Jesus. No, the whole purpose is to be able to give more to Jesus because of all that he's given to us. Great question. You have one, send it to askjeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at askjeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.